This is a miniseries that is better than the movie. I'm Mint Salad and I saw Stephen King's It. It is written and directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, and if you haven't seen this movie, I will spoil it for you. The main difference between this and the 2017-2019 version of It is that this is in total 3 hours long, versus that has a total of 5 hours, and you definitely don't need the 5 hours. I think telling the story in 3 hours is how much time you need to tell this story. So this movie starts with following a bunch of kids. They one by one discover each other and then form the Losers Club, and then they have encounters with it. What's interesting about this movie, it definitely lives in itself. It shows the status quo of what these kids are like, how they're like hanging out, and then how they end up finding each other. They go to this creek. They end up hanging out around the creek, and they make a dam, which is pretty cool, and the police be like, "No dams allowed." And I'm like, dang, you're the no fun police. Hot diggity dang. But it starts off with, we're following this child as they're like, "I want to play in the rain. It's raining, there's a bunch of puddles, and I want a paper boat." And then he does the paper boat, and he runs next to this stream that goes right into the storm drain, and guess who's there? It's It, and this is Tim Curry as It, and he's terrifying. I will say that Tim Curry does a much better It than the 2017-2019 version of It. Bill Skarsgård, sorry for mispronouncing your name. You don't got anything on Tim Curry, man. He is terrifying. Oh my goodness, and his performance is very comical, which is unsettling because he eats children and he eats off of their fear. So yeah, he's just there just doing fun things such as eating children, you know, the usual. And of course, these children are trying to figure out why do they keep seeing weird, strange stuff, and they converse together. And then they finally have the courage to tell each other, yeah, something's weird's happening in town. Also, what's cool is that there's the bullies that keep bullying them, and they eventually like run after them, and then they all gang up on a crane and throw rocks at the bullies, and it's awesome. But like, bro, what's up with the bully? Why are you trying to bully these guys so hard, man? What did they ever do to you? And when they get rocks thrown at them, then it's like, oh man, these bullies are actually the cowards. I'd say this movie is cut into 3 parts. You got the childhood established, and then you got a back and forth of establishing who the adults are and how they were in childhood, and go back and forth. And then it's the adults meeting up after they've all left and they're really successful, and then there's that guy who's been there the entire time. He remembers it, but nobody remembers it. But they all have a promise to come back to town, and this guy is like, "Yo, it's back." And they're like, "Oh dang, we gotta go back there. We gotta go back to we gotta go back to there. We gotta hang out, and we gotta come figure out what we're gonna do, our game plan, right?" Start seeing some spooky stuff again, and it's a nice fun time they're having at the Chinese restaurant, all that fun jazz. And I will say that this movie focuses more on just the relationships established between all these teenagers, and then into adulthood. Well, I guess they weren't teenagers, they're like, what, preteens? They're pretty young. And then the movie doesn't really cover them as teenagers, it more so covers them as the Losers Club, and then as them as adults. Man, it's really cold out here. Pardon my speaking skills. So anyway, so they're dealing with it again. I'll also say that the bully followed them when they're young into like the sewers and saw a dead light, and was like, oh my goodness, I'm seeing a deadlight. And was staring at the deadlight, and his hair turned gray, and he put into a insane asylum. And then we have friggin' It is talking to him again, and he escapes the insane asylum, and they all go down to the sewers. They all converge down to the sewers to stop It, and then guess who's there trying to stab them? That guy. So I had to get rid of that bully man. And he's been in the insane asylum this entire time. That is crazy. And then it turns out that its true form is a spider, which is gross. But they stop him, and I'm like, man, I hope that they don't have to come back in 30 years, because there seems to be a 30-year cycle of it coming back, devouring a bunch of children, and then leaving this town alone for a while. Luckily, we got this librarian man here to tell us the history of the town. Overall, I really like the pacing of this. This is much more engaging, and much more engaging throughout the entire thing than the 2017-2019. Specifically, the 2019 version I really have a problem with, because that is so boring, and there's 3 endings, and it doesn't make any sense, and it's too convoluted. I mean, it makes some sense, but it's too much, way too much. I like this one a lot. I actually really enjoyed it, and it's really horrific. Man, Tim Curry does a great It. What do you think? What do you think of this movie? I gotta give this one, it's technically a miniseries, but it's 3 hours long. It might as well be a movie. I gotta give this one, it's a solid 8.2 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one on the platform you like. Set $20 Dinos at patreon.com/ASEPresents for 1 movie review for 1 month. Go to this link to support the daily grindness of all them daily movies. And until next time, in salad sauce, I'll see you later. In salad, croutons, bacon, bits. Oh yeah, here I go. Adios.